Hi, my name is Andy Chartrand, and I'm here to talk to you today about skinning lynx. We're going to be doing a lynx pelt later on, but before we do that, I'd like to talk to you about a few different things on the animal itself. The lynx is a very beautiful animal, has a really long, soft, silky fur. The bellies on the lynx are probably the more important part of the fur when it comes to the marketing of the animal. Lynx have a very distinctive tuft on the end of their ears. A lot of people mistaken these critters here for bobcats, but the bobcat won't have that long tuft on the end of the ear. So the lynx has that. It also has on the end of its tail, usually has a white tip on the end of a black tail. So those are very distinctive features on the lynx. The lynx eats a lot of rabbits. That's his main source of food. It's always been our theory that if we can trap more lynx as the population is coming up, you're going to, instead of having that sharp rise and sharp drop, you might end up having more of a little bit of a bow instead of a sharp cliff to go down. So by trapping more lynx as the population is rising, you're going to end up with a much healthier population of rabbits and of lynx. So just something to keep in mind. So we're going to take this animal down from here, and then we're going to skin it, and we're going to show you how to do that properly so that you can make a better dollar with your fur. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to brush out the animal. So we have a couple different kinds. You got a fur comb here or a dog brush. So you can take the brush and give it a good brushing, or you can take your comb as well, and that'll clean it up, get any knots, burrs out. So that's the first thing we always do. You can never comb or brush your fur enough before you send it to the auction. So give it a good brushing, a good comb, and you're going to end up with some nice looking fur at the end of the day. The other thing that's really important now is what the buyers are looking for. And for most animals, we look at the back of the animal. On the lynx, this is the area here that they're really looking for. They're looking for very distinguished spots on the belly that show out. They're also looking for fur that is really, really white. So the whiter it is, like down here, this is what they're looking. If this belly was all white, this would be grade A select, number 1 and 2 select is what they call it. And A color. A color is all white. As you know, lynx are brown in the summer, and they change colors as the season goes on. Up here, your lynx primes up probably in late December, early January. So this is when you want to be targeting your lynx. If you catch them too early, they're going to show up like this. But if you catch them a little later, they're going to be a lot more whiter. So January, February is really the prime time to be catching your lynx, and you're going to get your better dollar for those lynx. Some of the tools that we're going to use now are going to be this here is a tool that we use for sharpening our knives. So this tool here we're going to keep handy. This is a tool that we're going to use for splitting the tail. It's a tail splitting guide. We're also going to use this little tool here, and this is to remove the tailbone from the animal. We're going to use a fleshing knife, so we've our pelting knife. We have scissors here if we have to do any work with the scissors. Fur comb. We've got a fur brush over here and a fur comb. So these are really important tools because cleaning the pelt up really well before you start is very important. Pelting is important, but the pelting begins, the fur handling begins in the bush when you catch the animal. So it's really important that we take care of it right from the beginning to the end. We're also going to use this here as a little scraper. So we'll use this here in the pelting part. This is a little knife that I use. It's a hook blade. and I use this for opening up all my animals. So you're going to see how we use this here. And the nice part about this type of tool is that it's retractable for one thing, so it's not as dangerous as a knife, and it also has multiple blades, so as they get dull you can just break them off and you can keep going. So you always have a sharp knife to open up your animals with to get them started, and you can get spare blades. They come in packages like this, so that's really handy to have. We have pliers here to get different parts of the cartilage out. We have pins over here. It's much easier for handling pins when they're in a styrofoam rather than sticking your hand in a pail full of pins or a bucket full of pins and you're always pricking your fingers. So get a piece of styrofoam, it'll last you for a long time. The pin here is made of 5/8 inch stem on it, or the pin itself, and the stem is a 1/2 inch pin. The next thing I want to show you is the surgical gloves that we use, and the reason we use surgical gloves is to prevent disease from contacting any disease from the animal that we're skinning. When I'm trapping, I'm using a lot of wire and we're always cutting ourselves. We get nicks on our fingers, and when we're skinning the animal now, it doesn't take much. It just takes an open cut to mix with the fluids from a diseased animal, and we can end up with that disease. And once we're finished, we make sure that we wash up really well with soap and water and clean ourselves up. So surgical gloves is an important tool for the trapper to be using at all times. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the claws. Lynx have pretty dangerous claws on them. They use them for taking their food, their rabbits. So you're going to pull the claw out, and then you're going to get the side cutters. I push down on it. Try not to get a lot of fur in it, and then snap it, and then pull it off. So that's how we're going to take 4 off of the back feet, and then we're going to do the front legs. So just you run your finger around the back of it, and that exposes it right down to the knuckle, and cut it off. So you got 4 in the back, 4 in the front, but in the front you also have the big dew claw, and that's the one there that comes out the side. So make sure you get in there and cut that one out, and that's a little tougher one. So now we're going to open up the front legs. You can use your pelting knife. A lot of trappers like to use their one knife. I have this little hook blade here knife that I use. And this is the knife that they use for doing your shingling. If the blade gets dull, you can just break it off and then push up, and you got another blade or another one. You can buy these in packages of 5. So you always have a nice sharp knife with you to open up animals. I use this all the time. I use it when I'm moose hunting. It's always in my pocket, and it's safe because you can put it away and you don't have no sharp edges in your pocket. So on the front leg, I'm going to go from the elbow, and I'm going to cut down towards the pad and cut right into the pad and right down to the tip of the paw. So you can see there we've opened it right up. Even get in a little further here. So there's always going to be a lot of fur flying here when you're skinning a lynx, and that's because they've got really long hair. I'm just pushing with my thumb now and separating the skin, and I want to remove the front legs. So just get in here and work the front legs out. And when you get up, there is a little bit of it's almost like a pad, and that's also where the dew claw is. So we're going to just cut around that. That helps to get that out. So keep working it off. Now, what some people will do is they will, I mean, do we really need all this fur? You can cut it off. Some people cut it off here. I like to leave all this on because this is going to make a big difference for you when you're boarding it. When the legs stay inside, it's going to make the animal feel a lot heavier. You'll see that when we turn the animal. Okay, so now we're just going to work this down here. We've got the dew claw coming up. Work it out with your knife. You can pull it out as well. I mean, work it out with your thumb. but you can see it right here, and that's right here is where the dew claw is, and you just got to cut that out. Don't worry about, you know, if you nick it here or something, it's not a crucial area. This isn't really going to matter. So just keep pushing it out, and it'll come out. Now I'm working my thumb up, and I'm working the rest of the skin here now up towards the pad. So keep working it up. Here, we'll just cut this off here. That's where that was the dew claw here that I was trying to get out. So keep pulling back. Some trappers here now will cut the leg off here, and they'll do this later. Some trappers will just wring the skin off right where it is. I just push down as much as I can, try and get as much fur off as I can off of it. And the same thing on this side here. We're gonna just open it up here and just get this little bit of gristle off. And that's the pad that's holding the foot together here now, so I just want to get that off. So once you get that, you can probably pull those toes right out. I'm not too concerned about making a pocket here. I don't really want the pocket. If you were going to make a wall hanger out of it, then you might want to keep the leg intact. But if you're sending it in for sale, don't spend a lot of time on the front legs like this here. Just cut them off. Pull them out. I can do the same thing with all of them. I'm going to open up those the foot anyway. So, or the ends of the toes. So don't worry too much about how this here is going to cut out. So just cut this here off. And then same thing with the last one. Pull it out. There you go. So we got all four toes off. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work the skin off the shoulder. And this is just going to make things easier for me later on. So like I say, some trappers will cut the leg off right here and then work that out after, but I just got used to doing it this way and find it easier. So now what I did, I just pushed my fingers in and just to separate the skin from the carcass again. And you'll see once we get all this skin, there's lots of fur and lots of skin here. Once we get up to here, it'll pull out a lot easier. So once you get that paw done, that's it for that one. Now we're going to work on the other paw. I'm just going to swing this around here a bit. But I'm pretty much up into the shoulder blade now, and that's where I want to be. And inside here, because it gets really tight up in here. So we're pretty good. So that's about it for the two front legs. So now I'm going to work on the back legs. And when we're doing the back legs now, we're going to turn them upside down like this. And the cut we're going to make on the back leg is going to be, we're going to go right from below here's the anal area, and then this is a female, so just below the vulva here, we're going to cut and come down this way here. So I like to try and keep the fur. You can see this fur here is longer on this side, so some guys will go right from the anal area and follow a line down here, but I find you're bringing some of the fur that's on the back and you're putting it on the belly. So I don't like doing that. I like to keep the belly fur in the belly and the back fur in the back. So cut below here. So I bring my knife in, and then I'm just following that line straight out here. And now you're going to come right up to the back of the foot. And once I get here now, this is really thick here, so depending what kind of knife you're using, with this knife here, it's easy. You just keep pushing down and come down to the pad. So you can see I'm skinned right down to the pad here. And do the same thing on the other leg. So now I know I started just below here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. You can see where the cut is. So I'm just going to keep coming across and keep coming down here. Now one of these back legs was split because they had a tag in there, and they put the tag in through the tendon. So we'll have to be a little careful. I'm not sure which leg it is there now, but we're going to come down here and right down to the pad again. So we've got that split right open. I'll just check here and see. Yeah, we're pretty. Well, this must be the one here. I think might be the leg that was split. That's not a crucial area, and it's not going to cause a lot of problems for us. So, all right. So once you've done that, now you're going to right at the joint here. That's the elbow, or the knee, I guess, on the back leg. I'm going to start cutting that into that. We just got a little bit of piece of skin here that's still attached. So we open that up. There we go. So we're going to start skinning out the back leg. Like I say, there's lots of fur here, so you can get rid of all this fur. So now I'll hold it up like this and start skinning. Just get that out. So it's a little tight here along the skin. It's skin and bone there right together, so it takes a little bit just to get it started. Once you get it started, though, no problem getting it off. Now once you can grab that tendon, it's going to make it a little easier. So just with your thumb, push in and work that out. Same thing on the other side. Just pull and work the skin out down towards the front of the leg here. A little bit of, sometimes there's little tendons or that holding it on there. So I mean, if you're strong enough, you can probably pull it off. If not, use your knife. When I was younger, I used more muscle. As I get older, I use more brain. So here now you're going to start cutting into the pad. Now on the back leg, I want to try and leave it as a pocket. So I'm going to try and skin this out where we're going to be able to make the pocket. So to do that, we're going to have to get in a little bit deeper here with away from the pad. There we go. So to do that now, we're going to push in. It's just like I did at the front, basically, and then start pulling out the feet at the back. Oh, there's a little bit more pad here holding on. And that gristle is really tough. If you don't cut it, it's hard to pull out. We're not going to leave the pad on anyway, because like I said earlier, we're not skinning this for taxidermy. So don't worry about leaving pads on and being really perfect about the whole thing, because it's not going to go in as taxidermy. So once we got it like this, you can turn it and start pulling the legs out. Or the feet, I should say, the toes. And there they come. One more to go. What's holding that up is just a little bit of gristle here, so there you go. And I should get that last one out. So we pull these out, and it's just a matter of cutting this way and then underneath, and that takes the toe out. Do the same thing for the next one now. So you can see the joint is right here, so cut in this way and then come underneath, and you can usually pull it out that way. Right there. So that's two, and we got the other two out now. And one more to go. So it doesn't, you can see it doesn't take a lot of time to get these pads out, or the toes out. And once you've done that, you got her beat. So this is what you're trying to accomplish. Well, you can see all 4 toes are intact, basically as close as you can get them, so that when it's going to be dried now and we turn it tomorrow, this is what it's going to look like on the board. So you got the whole foot intact, and it's going to look a lot nicer when it's boarded. So, but to dry it for a day, make sure that these are all pushed right out. So now we're just going to keep working the fur off by pulling it down. Some people skin from the head down, other trappers from the will skin from the back end like I'm doing. So it's what you get used to. I'm not saying one way is better than the other, because whatever way you get used to, if you're used to doing it the other way, keep doing it that way. We're just showing you some of the finer parts of how to do it and make a nice pelt out of it. So just keep pushing the legs. We've cut right up to the back end. So now I'm pulling in here right into the groin area, and also at the back, and pushing down. You can also do all of this on a gamble if you want. If you're more comfortable working off a gamble, then hang it up by the leg and work off the gamble. So that's how we get the one leg out. Now we're going to work on the next one. Okay, so that's basically the 2 back feet are out, and now we're just going to start working the legs down, or the skin, separating it and pushing it down to the end here. And the same thing on the groin side. Come up here. Now we already came down pretty much to the center here, so we're at the belly in here. We can use our pelting knife now and just get it started here, but this here will start to roll. And so will this side. That's just some tendons holding on there. We're going to get it down a little further. Now on one side I pushed it down to the back, so on this side here now I'm going to do the same thing till I come through. So right now I'm basically right through. You can see my thumb has come out. So all we have to do now is separate the back end here to the tail. So we just work it down to the tail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my knife and cut into here. There is a gland around the back end here that you don't really want to cut into it. Most animals have a gland near the anal area. Some of them are, smell a lot worse than others, like for instance the skunk. So we all know what that smells like. So try and avoid hitting that gland. So once I get into here now, I'm going to work up to the end of the tail. So you can see I'm at the tail here. So I'm going to use my tail stripper, which is this little tool here, and just bring it in now and slip it into here, and it pinches down on the tail. Different trappers have different ways. You can use paper towel. Some just hold it and squeeze and pull. You can do it. There's a whole bunch of different ways of doing it, but I like using this tool because I don't usually pull the tail off when I use this here. It just pulls the bone out, does a nice clean job. So we basically have the tail, everything's intact here. So now we're going to hang it up on the gamble, and then we're going to start working it down. Okay, so we're going to bring the gamble over here. I'm just going to raise it. In my garage, my gamble, I have a rope and I can pull it up and down. Right here we don't have that option, but I'm going to hang it by its foot in here. So you just get the foot in here, and that just slips in there like that. And then we'll get the other foot in the other side. and that holds the animal up. So now we're going to start working the pelt down, and it's basically just holding it and working it as you're coming down. So don't pull too hard. If you have any damage in it, hopefully you're not going to rip through. We did notice a few little spots that there might be some damage there. So we're going to be careful as we come down here. And that's just working off fairly nice. There isn't a lot of fat on this lynx. Most of the time you'll see a lot more fat on them. So just keep turning and pushing down. Some people like to go in underneath here and use their thumbs and push down with their thumbs. You can do that as well, any way that you're comfortable with, and keep working it down. We're going to try and raise it a bit higher. I'm just going to get it down a bit more here, because one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be working with your back bent over, because you're going to end up with back problems, and you don't need that. It's a tough enough job out on the land trapping, so make things easy for you. So we're going to hook this up here a little higher. So we're just going to keep working this down. So just keep pulling down. And you can see now we're coming in, the front shoulder is right here, and so we're getting close to it. So I like to work it down on the back and towards the front shoulders. If you remember when we did the front legs, I pushed my fingers up. This is where it's going to really benefit now to get the front legs out, because now I'm going to pull in here, this in the basically in the chest area, and work my way down in here. But now when I push down in the side here, this is where the shoulder is, I can push in here and basically come out to where my front leg was. So I take my front leg now and I'm going to push it up, and that's coming through here. And that's usually a tough part to get out. So when you do it the other, by pushing down, pushing up in the leg when you start it, and then when you're coming to this area, you push down, you're going to feel where you're going in, and then you can pop those front legs out. Again, guys will cut these legs off, and so that they don't have to pull them out like that. They do the pause after. That's all up to you which way you want to do it. Okay, so we basically just took a rope and tied the legs up and tied it to the front legs to the back leg. That keeps them out of the way. Otherwise they're hanging here and you can't see what you're doing. So get them out of the way. And now we're going to keep working this here down. And up in here. Just work the skin down. I'm going to get my pelting knife here, and I'm just going to cut this muscle out here a little bit just to get this started. I mean, we'll have a little bit more fleshing to do after, but that's not a problem. So take the leg here now and start pulling down on it, and that muscle should come out. There she comes. And we'll do the same thing with this one. And pull. And now we're coming down to the neck. The neck on the lynx is really small compared to his head. You can see the head is quite large. The neck is quite small. So we got to get all that fur over and skin over the neck and over the head. So we're just going to open this here up a little bit. Pull this down a bit more. Let's try and get some of this muscle off here. You can take this off after too. It comes off with the scraper, so I'm not too concerned about it. But you can see now it's just cleaning things up. Where it's more defined here where the skin is. So we'll just take the same thing off this side. work this out. That tendon goes right down into the leg. So there you go, that takes that out. So now I can pull down, and once I get down to here though, now I'm going to have to start, I like to knife this part off. I'll just pull it down a little bit more. There. So now I'm just going to follow the edge here and carefully remove some of this here. You got to be careful in this area because there's big arteries around the neck, and you don't want to cut into those because it'll bleed a lot. So we're just going to remove some of this here and keep coming down. Now pull down a bit. Here's that big artery here. So you can see the two big arteries, the one on each side. If you cut into those, it's going to bleed. Not really that serious, but you don't want to get a lot of blood on your skin and on your fur, so it's best to try and avoid cutting these here arteries. So I just work around them a bit. Now that should start to roll, because there she goes. Okay. So that's what's important. Try not to cut into those arteries. And now you're at the ear. So you're going to pinch the ear up. And there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can poke a screwdriver through here, like on the fox, and try and take the ear off that way, just by pushing down. With the lynx, it's a little more difficult. There's different cartilage than the fox. The fox, it comes out really nice, but the lynx is a little different. So I just like to do it, take the cartilage out, but you can push it up and you can come inside here and cut up. And I'm going to show you how to take the cartilage out after anyway. So keep pulling down. We almost got the skin off. Keep coming around. We're up at an eye here now, so I pinch up and I start cutting in towards the eye. It's a little dried out here, but we'll get this off. We'll work off this side too. And down here is your chin. So right here is your eye, so pinch up and cut towards the skull. And then you're going to expose the eyelid. You don't want to cut in. If I cut back here, I would have made a big hole. So keep following it down now. And you can see we kept the eyelid intact. And then right here is your bottom lip. So we got that and the lip out. And now we're going to come around and we're going to work on the other eye. The other eye should be right up in here. So we're going to pinch up. And we're going to cut towards here. And there's the eye. And then down again, right just below the bottom of the eye is the lip. So if you follow that line there, you can't go wrong. We got a little bit of blood coming out here, so we're going to, that's just from an artery in the ear. So just keep it clean. You don't want blood dripping all over your pelt. The bottom lip I'm going to take off now. I'm not going to be too fussy about the bottom lip because we're going to cut it off after anyway. So just remove the bottom lip like that and remove the top now. We're going to get the nose, keeping everything together. And you're coming right up to the end of the cartilage. And basically cut it off at the cartilage. So that's, the pelt is off the carcass now. I know a lot of you might want to use the carcass for to eat. They're good eating. If you're going to eat them, then make sure you check them that they don't have disease. And the way to do that, it would be to open it up. I usually go right in. You can feel where the breastplate is here and where the chest cavity and the stomach cavity separated right here. There's no more gristle. I would take my knife here and I would cut this open, and right here you're going to find the liver. Pull the liver out and examine the liver. Make sure there's no spots, or if there's any disease in the animal, it's going to show in its liver. So if the liver is nice and red, no spots, and it's clean, then the meat on this here is good to eat. So you got lots of meat on the back legs, the front shoulders, and you also got a big chunk in the back strap. So it's good to eat. We got the pelt off the carcass, so now we're going to pull the legs out, the front legs. We don't want to leave them inside here, so let's just push them out. Do that on both sides here. And then we're going to board the pelt, but we're going to have to flesh it first. You can use the beam if you had a beam, or you can use your board, but I just like to put it on the board sideways to start off with. So just get it down here like this and stretch it down as tight as I can get it. It doesn't have to be overly tight. And then we're going to just put it back up here, and we're going to start fleshing it. So I just use a little scraper like this. Your scrapers, you can make them yourself. You make them out of bone. This one here was purchased. It's a little block of wood with a slit in it and a piece of metal. It's got to be flat though, and not sharp. It should be dull. And make sure you round your edges off. It doesn't matter what you make your scraper with. If you make it with a bone, round the edges off. Any kind of scraper will work on it to do this. But that's really important that the edges are rounded off. So you're going to start here, and there's just a little bit of meat here that we're going to get off. We'll use a paper towel here, and just that everything sticks to it better. And now underneath the front leg, you can see this is usually an area where you're going to have a lot of fat. This animal doesn't have a lot, so we don't have to take a lot off. Just like on the other animals, we're not going to remove the saddle. So the saddle is that membrane again. It's very hard to see on this one, but it's just this reddish meat here that you see. That's your saddle. That chunk that I just took off is part of the saddle, so we'll just flip it around here, and I'll show you what it is on this side as well. So a little piece of meat here, clean it up, and a little bit of fat. And then pull this back. You got a little chunk of fat right here we want to get off. This is the part of the meat that I'm telling you about. That this here is part of the saddle. So we're going to remove this part of it. But as far as the whole saddle goes, don't take it off. You'd be working for nothing. So save yourself the trouble. Just scrape this off like this, and then it should pull off. That's all you want. You get those big chunks of meat off like that. You don't need that on there. Here's a little bit of fat. So we're going to remove that. So we'll turn this around, and we're going to work this fat off. So we're going to take this there's a bit of cartilage. I'm going to turn it around now. It's just going to make it easier. Find it easier pulling towards me than pushing away from me now. So pull this down, and this here is usually just a bunch of little tendons here, and that all just pulls right out, so you can get all that off. Okay, so we're just going to keep coming down here and cleaning it up, and we'll clean up this leg here as well. So same thing, there's some little tendons here that we're going to grab, and they pull out. That gets all that stuff off, and we pretty much have it cleaned up. Okay, so now we're going to remove the cartilage. To do that, we're going to start cutting in right about here. All we want to do is get the back of the ear off. I'm not worried about the inside of the ear because we're going to cut it off. So I cut into the ear right about in here, and it doesn't really matter because I'm going to show you what we're trying to get off here. This is what I want to keep. I want to keep this piece of fur right here. So I'm trying to get all of this inner ear out. And to do that, you can keep, I could have kept skinning it out, but I could also just do this here. And now once I get up to here, I can use pliers and just hook some pliers onto here and then start pulling up on. Actually, I'm just pushing my thumb into the cartilage and separating it. And the pliers are just holding it up. So just keep pushing it in. I just got to make a little cut here. And we can usually pull that right out. And there we go. So that's the big chunk of cartilage that you want to get out. You can see we got the whole inner ear is gone. It's really important you get this out because this here will not dry. This cartilage here, if it stays attached to this, will rot. And what happens after it rots, this here, all this hair is going to pull out. So be really careful getting that out, because if this hair starts pulling out, it could go down as damage. So that's basically your ear cartilage taken out. So we're going to get the other one out now. Just make sure you don't grab. If this here tip of the ear would have got stuck in my pinchers, and I'd pull the ear off. Not the most crucial part, because it doesn't really matter if you lose part of the ear or not. I haven't seen too many lynx coats made out of ears yet, but who knows when the buyers are going to start doing that. So here's your second ear out. So we got the cartilage out of the ears now. There is one more part here that we're going to have to do, and that's splitting the tail. We didn't do that yet. So I'm going to stick, this is just a little tail stripping guide, and I use my knife, and the knife sits in the trough, and then you just follow the tip of the knife in the trough, and that'll take it right out to the tip of the tail. So putting it in like this here, I can start right down here, and then just push with this here and run that to the tip. And now you'll see that the tail is split right open. And that's what you want. You want to tip right down to the tip. That's the black tip that's distinctive with the lynx as well. So same thing at this here. I mean, this piece of fur here doesn't really, like I say, this part here is not that crucial, but we'll just split it open. There we go. So now we got it open right up. So now what's really important is the length of this here animal. So we put our lines on our boards. Make sure that your boards are all lined up. The measurements for these here you can find on posters from Fur Harvesters. They have all the different lengths on the boards and the measurements. So once you've got it on the board now and we're going to be pinning it, I want to make sure that my animal will be stretched out to the best size that I'll get the best dollar for it. So on this one here, if I stand it up, what you want to do is you want to make sure it's nice and even. The tip of the nose is right center in the board. Your eyes are, you know, the same length, distance between the edge of the board and the eye. Same thing with the ears. And then now you can pull down on the front legs a bit. It doesn't matter if you stretch this down a little tighter, that's okay. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to grab it here now and pull down. Because if I grab it here and pull down, I'm really thinning this area out. And remember, the crucial area on the lynx is the belly. So we want to try and keep this as thick as we can. So what I want to look for now is how big this cat is. So I brush it out here because it's going to be measured from the tip of the nose to the base of the tail right here. So if I put my finger right here now and flip this up, that came down right about here. So I know this is going to fall into the middle of the large. There's no way I'm going to stretch it to an extra large. So I'm going to leave it right where it naturally falls. That's the best thing to do. So just, it naturally comes down to that large, leave it right there. If it would have came down to the line right here, well then I may have considered pulling it down a ½ an inch or so, 3/4 of an inch, to try and get it into the extra large so that I would have brought it up a grade, which could get you a lot more money. So depending on the color and the primeness of the pelt. So make sure though you don't overstretch it. So you don't want to be pulling down on it. This comes down to that large, so we're going to leave it right in that area. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it back on the table. Then I'm going to put my first 4 pins into it. So we're going to use these here pins here. These are pins that have a 5/8 stem on it and a ½ inch end. Now these are important. Don't just go buy the plastic pins that you can find at Walmart. They're not going to work too well for you. I just see a little bit more meat here that we're going to get off. So we'll just want to clean that up. Don't leave that on. And that's pretty good. So we're going to take our pin now, and I want to keep the length is what I'm looking for. So I'll put a pin here on one side of the tail and one on the other side of the tail. We're going to pin the tail open as well, and then the next pin is going to go on the edge, and then I'll put one over here on this edge. So that's basically it for my first 4 pins. So I've got a nice straight line across. We'll worry about pinning the tail and that open later. Right now I'm just going to turn it around, and we're going to pin our legs down. So to do that, I'm going to comb it out. I want to keep as much fur on the inside as I can possibly get. Now, there is one thing that we should have done here, and that's the pads. On the pads, we will just remove them because we don't need the pads, and there's a big chunk of gristle on there. So just use your scissors and remove that chunk of gristle. And do the same thing with the other back pad. So you can see quite a large chunk here. You don't want to leave that on because it's not going to dry, and it's just going to rot. So get it off. There isn't too much on this side here, a little bit. We'll clean it up. Same thing on the front legs. We'll just cut the pad off, get rid of it. You're not going to see the front legs anyway, so don't worry about any fur that's or cutting off a little chunk of fur or something, so it's not going to really matter here. So get rid of that pad. That's what's important. There is a little bit more here up by the dew claw, so cut that out. Do the same thing on the other foot. We're gonna there's a pad right here, so we'll just trim that off. And that's pretty good there. There's a little, I can feel a little piece right here, so there you go. That's dry. Got that. And then the little pad near the dew claw right here. So that's that little chunk here that I want to take off. So that's it. Once you get that off, you're good to go. So we got the 4 pads off the 4 legs. Okay, so now I'm just going to take my brush here and I'm going to just brush the fur in on the inside of the leg. And that's just to define the edge. Now we're going to take our pins, and we're going to work right from the center here. So just stretch it. I'm not pulling down on it, I'm just stretching it. I don't want to have really long legs either. So I'm taking this fur here now and I'm bringing it in. And I'm going to basically make a straight line down the center here. So bring that pin in and pin. Same thing here. Using a nice little styrofoam block like this here too for your pins keeps all the pins nice and neat and makes it easy for you to pick up your pins and pin your work down. Otherwise you're always picking your fingers there if you're sticking them in a jar or something. So, and keep coming down. So now I'm just going to take this here now and push it out to the edge, and I'm going to take a pin and open up right to the edge. And we're going to just pin up all along the edge here now. And that just opens up the skin. You're going to see how nice it looks after as well, like having all that fur sticking out here on the edge. So we'll just put another pin up here. And then we'll do the same thing to this side. It's really going to give the illusion of a lot of fur. And that's how we kind of impress the buyers with the way we handle our pelts. Now we're going to work at on the front legs, and I made myself some little paddles. That's what I call them, little paddles there, and they fit inside. I made them out of wood. I used to use cardboard all the time. But instead of cutting cardboard out every time I needed to work on them, I made myself some little boards. The front legs, you can make these little boards, or you can use, I used to use my Martin boards. They're just not as wide, but you can stick a Martin board up there too if you don't have these paddles. You're going to have some gristle up in here, so take your scraper now and let's clean up the front leg. And pull that down, just like we did with the back here. We're going to take all this here and pull all these tendons out. So we'll clean that up. We'll pin it up, and then we'll do the other leg. So same thing. I mean, I just brush the fur out, so it makes it easier to see the tips of where the hair is. And then let's just start putting some pins in. Now when I get down here, you could split these toes open. I can open them up like this here and leave them just the way they are. You could have cut the top of the foot right off. You didn't have to go right down to the tip of the toes here, but I did because, you know, we're going to give the buyer everything we can. But if you dock the foot off up here, you're not going to lose no money over it. As long as you leave a good chunk of fur inside the front leg. So if you got that much fur inside your front leg, you're doing good. Okay, so we've got that one there done. Oh, pin coming out. There we go. So now we're going to work on the other leg. So I take the paddle and we're going to slide it in here. There we go. Okay, so we're going to pin that down so that it'll dry open, and then tomorrow we'll be able to flip it. So that's basically it for the front legs. We got the two front legs done. We've got the back legs done. Now I'm just going to flip it around again because we're not quite done on the back here. And you can put a pin in the side here. And the same thing on this side. That's just going to hold the edge down. And now we're going to pin the tail open. So there's a pin on each side. So, all right, so now we've got that basically pinned down. I'll just put another one up in here. Maybe one more in here. All right, so just to put the pins in, you can use little paddles like this. We made paddles for the arms, the front legs. I also made these here. I use these here for my Martin legs. They're made out of tangerine orange boxes. Again, you can just cut out a piece of cardboard if you want, but whatever you want to use, that's fine. But these here will last you a little bit longer. And so when you buy your oranges, keep that wooden box and make a couple of stretchers. So it's just a matter of putting a pin in here and maybe a couple on the side, and just to hold the ear open so that that'll dry. And then I'll do the same thing with the other ear. And that's all we have to do with that. So now our ears are done. The legs are done, the tail, the back. So we're going to turn it around now. And there's one last thing that we're going to do. And that's to remove the bottom lip, because the buyer, when it gets down to the auction house, they're going to put a barcode in here. And they got to get inside here with a staple gun, and they got to staple the barcode. We take it off of every animal except for the 3 animals that we do taxidermy work. And the 3 animals of taxidermy would be the bear, the wolf, and the wolverine. Do not remove the bottom lip on those 3 articles. So on this one here, you can see this little dot here, and that's usually that little chin whisker. I just pull up here and I just cut below that, and then bring it up to the lip. And same thing here. So now it makes a nice opening here, really nice for the auction house. When they get down there, they can slip that barcode in there and tag it on, and then they know who the animal belongs to. Now remember how small the neck was, so this is the tightest area on that lynx. So again, if you're going to be leaving this animal on the board any longer than a day or 2, make sure you've got a chin board in here. So you can use this here. You can make them longer if you want. They can come down to here if you want. That's up to you. I find that the crucial area is right in here. So just slide this in here. Get that in there like that. You've got lots of space here now. So when this does dry, if it is tight, you can always turn this sideways, pull it out, and then your skin will come off. So you don't need a big belly board. Push it in, but you can see how the skin is kind of turning in. So once you pushed it in so far, bring it back, and then that skin will roll out so it doesn't rot in there. And that's about the last thing that I do to it. And then now I'm going to just lean it up against the wall in my fur shed, and making sure that my ears are stretched out. I want to make sure that there's air getting in there. Really, really important under here. If I leaned it up straight up against the wall, the arm would be like that. This wouldn't dry. So you want to make sure that this is hanging and there's air going through here. That's going to be one of the last places that's going to dry on it. So we'll just brush some fur off of the edge, clean it up. The tail. And that's basically it. So this here animal now, I'm going to let it, or this skin, I'm going to let it dry for a day. If you have a fan in your skinning shed, put the fan on it now and get air circulating on it. Again, don't put it close to your wood stove. Keep it away from any source of heat. Okay, so we boarded our lynx yesterday, and we let it dry out. Now it's been drying for about 17 hours, which is a little bit long. So it's really dry. It'll be a little tough getting it off, and we may have to soak it to turn it, but we're going to get the pins out. When you're going to be taking your pins out, make sure you keep your thumb or your finger close to the pin as you're pulling it out. Because if you just start pulling the pins out, you might rip the hide. So keeping your finger close to the pin and pushing down on the skin will prevent that from happening and doing damage to your pelt. And one more here. I believe we got all the pins off the back now. There's just a couple more in the front on the ears. We'll just check there and make sure here. Oh, I feel one more here. So always go around feeling with your fingers. There's another one down here. to make sure that you got them all, because they do hide in the skin. And then we're going to get the ears here. So we'll pull the little boards out here. And this one here fell off just while we were taking the pins out. So, but you can see everything's dried up really well. And then we'll come over here and we'll get our belly board out. So that loosens that up. And I believe we got all our pins out. I'm just gonna, oh, I see another one right here. Nothing left in there, nothing on the back. So let's get this thing here off the board now. And there she slides off. So even though it's over dried, it dried quite a bit. It's going to be a little difficult to turn because it's so hard. So what we're going to do is we're going to soak it a bit with water, only because it's really dry. I'm going to tuck these ears back in because they got to go inside out after anyway. So we'll just get those out of the way now. All right, so we've left the lynx sitting here with a paper towel wrapped around his head, a wet paper towel, so just to soften it up because it was a little dry. So it's been about 5 minutes, and now we're gonna take this here off, and that should have softened it up quite a bit. So now it should be a little more pliable, and we should be able to get it in. So start with the nose, and we're gonna start pushing the nose into the mouth area. And we already pushed the ears in, so now we're just going to keep rolling it. And it's just a matter of pushing with your thumb and rolling it. Nice and easy. And push down and roll. So I'm pushing in and I'm pulling up as much as I can here. It's hard to pull up on it, but you're pushing down and you're rolling up. A little while there we'll be able to reach in and grab it by the head and pull down, but it'll start to roll quite well now, nice and easy. So you can see it's really dry. It's dried up pretty good, so we don't have to worry about it not being cured. We're going to put it back on the board once we get it turned and leave it like that for another day anyway. But because it's dried up pretty good, it won't have to stay on the board very long. But and now you can see all the fur that we have on the front legs. This is really going to make the animal or the pelt feel heavier. So just keep pushing, leave the legs inside, keep rolling it. And we got lots of material going in there, but that's okay. Now you could grab it by the head here now and start pulling up, but I don't like doing that because this could end up, it'll split right up in here. So try and keep pushing it down, keep pushing this here in and keep rolling it just a little bit at a time. Take your time with it and it won't split on you. And then push them legs in, and now we're coming to the back end here, and there we go. So we've got her pretty much turned around, and now we're gonna pull it out, and now you can take it by the nose and the tail and give it a little stretch, and I fluff it up like that. That really gets all the fur fluffed up, and you can see how nice and rich looking this looks. The last thing you're going to do is make sure you turn the nose. So you can see the nose is flipped inside out. So we want to take our time here and turn that back. If that was really dry like it was when we first took it off and we didn't wet it down a bit, I'd have a hard time trying to get the nose flipped back out. So there we go. We just pushed the cartilage out there, a little bit of cartilage that was left in the nose out. So now we gave the lynx its shape again. So the ears, we pushed them out earlier, so now they're back out over here. And we're ready to put this back on the board. Open up the back end here. We're going to get our board. So now when I'm putting the board in, I'm running the board up against the skin on the back. So keep the board. You can see it's running on the back here because remember those front legs are in here. So keep pushing down, and you may not be able to get it all the way on the board the way you had it the first time, but as long as you can get it on to keep its shape. I mean, I can pull this down some more, but don't forget, I got a lot of material in here now. It's not going to fit on the board the same way that it did when we first put it on. But you can see we can keep its shape. We're going to take a brush now, and you should give it a good brushing. And that's just going to clean it up. You can brush it again when you take it off the board. So we're going to do that there like that. Try and get it down just a little bit more here. There we go. So we're pretty much on that board the way it was when we first had it. So I don't need to go any more than that. It's a little bit loose. I'm going to put the. We gotta turn the feet back in. So when you're doing that now, you're going to push in here. Just push on the toe and push it out, because we made a pocket here, and now we want to turn these toes back in. So pushing at the end, the tip of the toe, and push it back out, because now I want to make that pocket. Get these toes out. They're really dried out too. You could have taken a cloth and soaked them down to get the toes back out. This is all about appearance now. This isn't going to make or break your pelt, but it's going to look a lot nicer when it's done. So I make sure I try and get these toes right out. Got those two, that one there, and then the little one on the side here. There we go. So we got that one done. Now we'll just do the other one here. If for some reason this wasn't dry, then you could take some borax. This is where you would use your borax, and just pour borax inside here. And don't be shy with the borax. It's not going to hurt nothing, but you can fill that up. It's not necessary to do it on this one because the fur is really, or the skin is really dry. But that's what I would do. I would just stuff borax in there, and then take the animal now, and we're going to pin it down. So you don't need a lot of pins now. You can see though how this here looks. We're looking at fur from here to here. If we stretched it out and we had legs that were like this, well then we're only looking at fur from here to here. So by keeping your legs close together, you're giving the illusion of a lot more fur on the pelt. So just a couple pins here to hold it in place, because it's basically dry. You just want to keep it shaped. So I put maybe 4 pins, 4 on the bottom, and then 4 just to hold the center together. And then we'll turn it around here, and we'll put just a couple pins on the back to keep its length, and one on the end of the tail. And then we're going to pin the ears forward. This is an important part. So take the ear, pin it down, and pin it towards the eye. And the same thing with this one. Always pin your ears forward, except for again on the wolf, Wolverine, bear. We wouldn't do this, but all the other animals I pin my ears down, and that's so when it's it's going on the being drummed, this isn't going to get in the way. And then you can stick your belly board back in, because you don't know how long you're going to be here, and if you're going to be a while out on the trap line, you don't get back to it. At least it's not going to dry really, really tight to the board. So That's basically your lynx on the board. I'd leave it like this now for another day, and then after the one more day I would take it off the board and I would hang it in my skinning shed or not in the skinning shed. I leave it in a room that has about 10 to 13 degrees Celsius and let it dry one day off the board. You'll feel around and you'll feel if it's dry enough to put out in the cold. Once it's dry enough, put it out in the fur shed, like I say, in a breathable bag. If you have mice around, keep the mice out, or you can just hang them up if you're in a garage or a shed and let it freeze there. And if you skin your pelt like this here, you're going to get top dollar for that pelt. One thing I will tell you is you can't make a $300 lynx out of this here, but you can make a $5 lynx out of it if you don't handle it properly. So we can't put the fur on it, we can't put the color on it, but we can make it worse. So taking care of your pelt and handling it, taking your time with it, that's the most important thing. It's not you're not in a race here to get it done. Take your time with it and do a nice job, and you'll get the best dollar you can for that pelt. So that's your lynx. Thank you.